What's up, party people? This one I'm going public with. So if you're watching this, thank you so much. Do me a big favor if you're watching this. Like, share, subscribe. I've been back on it and putting this content back out because I know the people need it. So I'm gonna give the people what they need. Today, this lesson we gonna talk about midpoint as well as finding the endpoint when you're giving one endpoint and the midpoint. So this one, I am going to be somewhat going from scratch. So I'm going to share the whiteboard first, right? So the first thing we got to think about when it comes to midpoint, right, is there's a midpoint formula, okay? So midpoint, the formula for that is, notice when you talk about midpoint or any point, it has X and Y. So the midpoint, if I'm given the ordered pair X1, Y1, and the ordered pair X2, Y2 as endpoints. So X1, Y1, X2, Y2 are endpoints of a given segment. Then the midpoint is X1 plus X2 divided by 2, and then Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2. Now remember, these are ordered pairs. So your solution is an ordered pair. It has an X coordinate and a Y coordinate, right? So you want to remember this particular formula, okay? So that's for when you're given the endpoints of a segment. So let's do this. Let's say we want to find, actually, let's go back to that screen. So let's say, I'm going to type this out too. So if I am given, let's say first we're going to say number one, we're going to find the midpoint of AB when A is the ordered pair 3, 4, and B is the ordered pair -5, 6. All right. So I'm given the ordered pairs A and B, or the segment that has endpoints A and B, and it's at these particular ordered pairs. So we're going to pull up a coordinate plane. And in this coordinate plane, we're going to first graph those endpoints, right? So we have the endpoint, and we're going to use just a 1 scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, so on. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on our y-axis. We got -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Now, I understand that I have two endpoints that are A 3, 4 and B -5, 6, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to plot these points. So 3, 4, we go here, 3 on the x-axis, 4. So that's A. And then B is going to be -5 and 6, B, right? So we want to find the midpoint. Well, what you want to do is to find that midpoint, we're simply going to take x1 is 3, x2 is -5, and we're going to divide that by 2. And then we're going to take y1, 4, y2, 6. We're going to divide those by 2. All right. 3 plus -5 is -2 over 2. And then 4 plus 6 is 10 over 2. So that simplifies to -1, 5. So we can graph that midpoint. I'm going to do it in a different color. Let's go with blue because that's my favorite color. -1, 5. Boom. So that's the midpoint. And it's at the ordered pair -1, 5. All right. So that's how you find the midpoint. Now we're going to talk about how do you find the endpoint. So let's say that they give us the midpoint and they give us an endpoint, right? We still have this up here. So let's say we do this. So we're going to ask the question. So R is the midpoint of segment PS. Q is the midpoint of segment RS. All right. And we want to say P is located at 810 and S is located at 12 negative 6. Right? What are the coordinates of Q? And I'm gonna draw a diagram for y'all to see this, right? So let's just say we have this diagram to go with this, and let's say the diagram looks like this, right? Boom. So we have this segment, and let's say we have P, we have S, we have a midpoint of R, and then we have a midpoint of that of Q. All right, Mama, I can't answer the phone because I'm recording. So now I'm given that P is at 810. And I'm given that S is 12 negative 6. So essentially I have to find the midpoint of PS, which is R. And then once I find that, I got to find the midpoint of RS, which is Q. All right, so let's go back to the coordinate plane. So let's plot these points, right? So as I can see, the order pairs are going to be bigger than this. Actually, you know what? No, we can actually do it like this. So this time we're going to use 2s. So we're going to have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10, negative 12. And then we're going to do the same thing on the y-axis. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then we're going to have negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10, and negative 12, right? So now we got to plot P and S, all right? So P is at 810. So boom, over 8, go up 10, and that's P. S is at 12 negative 6, so 12 negative 6, boom, so that's S, right? So now we've got to find the order pair 810, and we got 12 negative 6, and we got to find the midpoint of that. So the midpoint of PS is going to be, so let's label this as R, right? So R equals 8 plus 12, because that's x1, y1. I'm sorry, x1, x2 over 2. So 8 plus 12 over 2. And then we got 10 plus negative 6 over 2. All right. So here we go. 8 plus 12 is 20 over 2. 10 plus negative 6 is 4 over 2. So that equals 10 and 2, the ordered pair, right? So boom, 10, 2. All right. So this is R. And that's 10, 2. All right. So then now we've got to find from these two, we're going to go over here on the left side. We're going to find point Q. Right. So Q equals, now we're using x1, y1 from point R, x2, y2 from point S. Right. So now we have 10 plus 12 over 2. And then we have 2 plus negative 6 over 2. All right. 10 plus 12 is 22. Keep that over 2. 2 plus negative 6 is negative 4 over 2. So that gives us the ordered pair 11, negative 2, which here, 11 is right there. Boom. All right. So this is Q, and it is at 11, -2. Okay. So we have this problem. So they gave us, we found the midpoint twice. Let's say hypothetically, they give us a problem where they give us the endpoints and they want us to find, or they give us the midpoint and one endpoint. So I'm gonna clear this out. So I'm just going to actually, you know what? Let me bring that back up. Let me not erase it like that. All right. Let me erase it like this. All right. And boom. So we're given the ordered pair. Let's just create one. Let's say we're given the endpoint 212. So let's say this is A, and that's at 212. And then let's say we got a midpoint at 6, 6. All right. We want to find the coordinates of the midpoint. Of the endpoint. So let's just say this is B, right? So if I want to find the endpoint, so let's just say, let's type it up here. Find the endpoint of AC given A 212 and B 6, 6. Okay. So we're looking for point C. Okay. We're looking for point C. Tell them hold on just like 2 minutes. All right. So we got to find this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, remember, midpoint is x1. Midpoint is x1 plus x2 over 2. Y1 plus y2 over 2, right? So here we're going to separate this into two equations. X1 plus x2 over 2 equals, let's just say, x, meaning this is the x coordinate of C. And then we're going to say y1 plus y2 over 2 equals y. That's a terrible y. All right. So we're going to simply take this over here for the x coordinate, and we're going to say x1 is 2. So 2 plus x2 over 2 equals, I'm sorry. So yeah, 2 plus x2 is 6, meaning I take this 6 from the midpoint, and then I'm going to say 12 plus y2 over 2 equals 6 again. So then we're just solving for x2 and y2. All right, so here I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that fraction. And then I have 2 plus x2 is equal to 12. And then I simply subtract 2 from both sides. And that gives me x2 equals 10. And then I do the same thing. I multiply these both sides by 2. Boom, that cancels. That gives me 12 plus y2 is equal to 12. I subtract 12 here, subtract 12 here. So y2 equals 0. So that tells me that my endpoint is 10, 0. So boom, graph that, 10, 0. That's going to be C. Okay, so when you find the other endpoint, you have to take the given coordinates from the endpoint that they give you and the midpoint, and you got to solve for that other x coordinate and y coordinate. Okay, stop it, rewind it, pause, do what you got to do. Share this with your friends, your homies that don't do work and things like that. But hopefully this is helpful. Look at it again. There's other example types, but I just wanted to give you all one example of how to find the midpoint as well as how to find the endpoint when you are given the midpoint and the other endpoint of a segment. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. As always, deuces.